This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, and we're recording this conference for our records as a community board. So as items are brought up before the committee, the first order of business is that the committee has a discussion amongst themselves, and then we open the discussion up to the public attendees. So if you'll kindly wait until the if you have comments on the items that are presented before the committee, or we'll also make a call for new business after the two items that we have on our agenda are considered. Then you'll have the opportunity to weigh in. Okay, so now I'm going to ask committee members. I'm going to call you as I find you, just so that it's less confusing, to just introduce themselves quickly to the meeting. So Colin.
Hey guys, Colin right here.
Colin is on our committee. Who's next? Paul is on our committee.
Hey, Paul Devlin here.
I see David is here. Oh, we
Yep.
have two Davids.
Hi.
David number one.
We have David Warren and
Hi.
Two Davids. Yeah.
Two David and the second David. We have Jeffrey LeFrancois.
Hi everybody, happy to be here.
We have, who else is on the committee? I don't see any other. Do we have any members that I'm missing?
Rob Walker. Rob Walker is on the
I don't see Rob.
No, but he's on the phone.
Okay. Oh, I see Rob. Okay, Rob, could you say hi?
He was on the phone.
Hi, everyone. Every time before I talk, I have to mute and unmute.
I see. Okay. So Rob is also a committee member. There's no visual of him because he's calling from his phone. Obviously, you're not obligated to have a video feed if you don't want to, but sometimes it helps just with identifying people. Okay. So let me go to the agenda and we'll bring up the first item if you'll just be patient.
This is Pete.
Oh, and Pete is here.
Yeah, I'm here as well. Yeah, how are you?
Okay, great. Thanks, Pete.
Okay.
Did I miss any other?
Okay.
Yes, Dale, this is Viren Brambad.
Oh, hi, Viren. Sorry, I missed you.
No worries. I'm here.
Okay, so we definitely have a quorum, which means we will be voting on the matters that require a vote, and those votes will be recorded. All right, so let me just go into the documents and get the agenda up so I can read the first item off of it. Okay, so the first item of business is we're gonna have a presentation about the request for a loading zone in front of the address 529 West 29th Street, which is between 10th and 11th Avenues. Who is making that presentation?
I am. I'm Glenn Kubota. I represent the 529 West 29th Street Tenants Association. My colleague, Coop, I guess he's not on yet.
He was a second ago. We saw him.
Oh, he was.
He's on. He's just muted at the moment.
Okay.
Hello, Glenn, and welcome. And
Fine, thank you. I appreciate very much this opportunity to meet the committee and to make our presentation. Coop, are you on?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Sorry about that. Everything froze up. I had to reload.
Okay. So I take it that Glenn and Coop, you're going to make the presentation together?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Coop forwarded your committee a series of photos and some support letters.
Yes, we are in possession of the photographic evidence and also the support letters from various residents of the block and the building.
Right. So, Coop, you want to explain the photos?
Oh, are we starting? Great, no problem.
I
Okay.
can pull up the photos if you'd like. That way everybody can see what they're talking about.
That would be great, Janine.
Okay, give me one moment.
Janine, they're going
For
to
some
be in
reason,
the
my
chat.
camera's not working, so that's fine.
Are they going to be in the chat?
No, they are meant to be.
No, I'll be screen mirroring it, so it'll be coming up.
Okay, great.
I don't. Okay, we apologize. Okay.
We're just taking a moment to pull up your visuals for everyone.
Okay. Can we see it?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't see it.
Oh, it's paused. Give me one moment.
Okay.
It's paused. Anything now?
I don't see that. I'm just going to take this moment while we're waiting for the visual to come up to mention that. Oh, now we have it. Great.
Okay.
I also just wanted to mention quickly that we have Colleen from the DOT, and we also have Lowell, our CB4's chair. Okay, gentlemen, do you want to go ahead with your presentation now that we have the visual up?
Okay.
Sure, that's great. This is quite. Go ahead, sir. This is quite a quick presentation. We're just introducing our building here because it's a fairly new neighborhood. We're just below Hudson Yards, and there are so many new buildings that even most recently, when we discussed with the city, they did a study and they're adding 3 different streetlights to our block. If any, well, you most are familiar with the way 26th and 29th Streets have been changed with a bike lane, parking on both sides of the street, and 1 traffic lane. So that's the issue on our block, is that we have these pictures that are coming up. There is so much parking all the way down on each side that no car can stop in the traffic lane to let people out. And we happen to have quite a number of disabled and elderly, as well as families with very young children who are needing vehicles to pick them up. And there's nowhere in our section of the block. People have to go down to the corner or have to be let out and block traffic, and then all of those different things. So this is the picture just of our building. Hi, 529. Next, we kind of actually have a photo, Janine, with picture of the traffic. So right now, this is what it's like in front of our building. The only space you see in front of the 3 cars is an entrance to a parking lot that is attached to our building. But otherwise, there are cars all the way down the entire street. And there's a little bit of construction going on across the street, which is the only reason there isn't parking there right now. I'm going to just do all of these photos. There's a total of 7. We've done 2. So after that, we're moving down. Just to give more examples, this is our daytime traffic, where there's all the commercial vans and people doing work. I'm continuing to do all this because if we're flipping back again to the nighttime, Janine, this is what it's like in front of our block. There's delivery people, there's traffic, as you can see, there's just the 1 lane, and there's parking on the other side of the street. And as we continue going on, it again just shows the entire block, that there is the 1 lane. And if you see down there all the way at the end with the car that's stopped, it completely blocks all traffic. There is nowhere a car can pull in and drop off people safely and not stop this very busy street.
That trestle there is the High Line.
Yes, sorry, we are back about 150 yards. So where that car is stopped is approximately just around our building. And then we can move on. The next one is as well. I showed you the commercial parking. So there is some parking spaces occasionally on the other side, but trucks stop. That is directly next to the Cisco truck is our building 529. And I'm going to keep going on. The last bit I have to show you is the same type of information at night, all the parking, and then even to try and get in between the cars. If a car stopped there's always then like garbage and things blocking coming in from the street onto the sidewalk. Or I didn't have a picture of bikes that are attached to the poles and in other places. But that's basically the geographic location of our building and the non-possibility of having any cars, including we have Accessoride come and they cannot stop in front of our building. So people who have motor electric vehicles we have people who cannot even use a regular wheelchair, and they have to go all the way down to the end of the block even for Accessoride to be able to pick them up. And that is the presentation for what it looks like at 529.
The street that we live on is all residential, and so some of those buildings are still not fully occupied. So we think that the street traffic will be even more. And the fact that it's now only one lane, it used to be 2 lanes, but now it's only 1 lane. So anytime you need to unload or load a car, you got to do it in the middle of the street unless you have curbside access. And so we got 5 letters of support from tenants who would feel that curbside access would be beneficial to them. And so the first one is from Gail Turner. She uses a cane on occasion for her arthritis in her foot. And she said that if she could have curbside access to a vehicle, it would be easier on her to enter and exit. We have a woman named Sonia Velasquez. She is wheelchair bound, does most of her rehabilitation using Accessoride, and they're the ones who have to, if they can't get to her from the street, they have to go down to the end of the block, and she has to go down to the end of the block to get onto the Accessoride. We have a gentleman named William Chiasson. He is an elderly 70 plus, 80 plus, I think, musician who has a number of large instruments that when he books a job, he has to load all his instruments into a vehicle. And if he doesn't have access to a parking space, he has to go down and find an area that he can load his car. And we also have 2 mothers. Chelsea Shannon, she has 2 toddlers, and it's an issue whenever they have to put in children's seats. As you know, those are very difficult to put in, and they're time consuming. And so she and her husband have to find a place along the block that they can park a car and install the child seats. The same with Kate Favell. They have a newborn, and actually no, it's a toddler. It's about 2 years. She's about 2 years old, and she too has to. When her parents come on the weekend, they have to find a place on the block, not in front of our building, that they can park and install car seats. So we did a general demographic of the tenants in our building, and we have 139 units, and 27 of those units are either elderly or somebody in that unit has some kind of disability in terms of getting around. And then there are in our building, there are 11 young children under the age of 10. And this is a building of 139 units. So any kind of curbside access to these people and our tenants would be greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you. Is that the presentation in full?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just say that we have seen similar issues arise in the district with the changes in the streetscape. where residential buildings lack a loading area for pickups, drop-offs, and yes, accessorides. So we've seen this in other instances. So we'll open the discussion of this issue to the members of the committee, and then we'll open it for public discussion as well. Anybody have any hands up? I see Paul, and I see Jeffrey, and I see David Warren. So Paul.
Thanks. One clarification question. Glenn, you mentioned that the garage entrance that's just west of your building, is that attached to your building, and is it parking spaces that are available to your residents? Is it part of your building in that sense?
It is part of the building, but it's not accessible to the tenants unless you can afford the rental.
Okay, thank you.
Which is approximately $800 a month.
Jeffrey, let me say quickly before I jump to that I neglected to recognize the representatives of our elected officials who are here. So I just want to have them say hello quickly as well. Maya is here, correct? Maya? Also, I believe Emily is here from Assemblywoman Rosenthal's office. Emily? Okay, and maybe they'll chime in when they. And who else is here from oh, Matt.
Yep. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Matt. Thank you. All right, Jeffrey, to you.
Just to clarify that, I mean, this seems fairly non-controversial to me. They're looking for a loading zone. Is it for 2 parking spaces, 3 parking spaces? Is that part of the ask? Or maybe Colleen, is there a way you can shed some light on what's typical here?
That would help a lot.
Yeah, hi everyone, it's Colleen Chattergoon from DOT. So typically what happens here is that the building is asking for no parking anytime regulation. And what that normally is that you can't park your vehicle all day there, obviously, but it allows for you to pick up, drop off passengers, also load and unload merchandise at the curb. So that would be the most appropriate regulation for the frontage of the building. It's a no parking anytime regulation.
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah, that's what you've done in the past. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone, you cannot see me. It won't work. I was going to say, obviously, we're not aware of the specifics here. I know the accessoride vehicles are closer to two spaces size, so they do need room to pull in and pull out. But that's really the main.
I think it would be feasible to two spaces. Yeah, spaces.
So I just want to confirm that the bicycle lane is on the opposite side of the street?
Correct.
Yeah, they are. Yes.
Okay, that's all I was going to ask.
Yeah,
I forgot to announce that.
Luckily, there's no conflict at this location in that regard. Does any other committee member have a question about this issue?
I have a question.
Yes.
So do we request a number of spaces, or is it automatically a certain number of spaces?
I think you have a case to ask for 2 spaces based on the frequency of the accessoride pickups.
Okay. Is it okay to ask for 3 spaces?
No.
Pushing to ask for 3 spaces.
Hello. Sorry. Go ahead.
So you know.
Because like on a busy weekend, families who are loading can use plenty of space.
I would imagine that we would not, it would be under unique circumstances, we would grant 3 spaces. And to be honest with you, we usually don't even grant 2 spaces. But given that accessoride comes to your building, that should be mentioned in the resolution so we can consider that. So you'd be pushing it for 3 spaces.
All right. Okay.
No worries. We were we did come to a meeting to see your complete procedure, and we did talk with a couple of your representatives. So there was the point that Yeah, we'll have to specifically have it in the spot right in front of the building, the 2 spaces, because next to that is where all the garbage goes. We're not that big a building, but it can block the sidewalk in a number of places. So
So,
we're fine.
question, how often does Accessoride come to your building? How often do they come there?
She
Multiple days. Go ahead, Jet.
She has at least a monthly rehabilitation schedule. The woman has the wheelchair that, yeah, it's
That's
about.
just the one example, Glenn.
She may go twice, but I know she goes once a month.
Okay, and the board can add that into the resolution for clarification, okay? Thanks.
Yeah, hello.
Paul.
So if we're talking about 2 spaces, looking at the layout of the street, are the 2 spaces then going to be adjacent to the entry ramp to that parking garage so that it would be a string along there of no parking?
That is the, sorry, am I on? Great. So the 2 spaces directly in front where I showed on one of those pictures, I'm sorry they're not up again. But so we have 2 spaces and then there's a 3rd space before the parking garage. So the main issue there is the 3rd space is covered by garbage 3 days a week. After 4 p.m.
Yeah, my concern is if you create 2 empty spaces and then 1 legal space and then an entrance to a garage, like it just doesn't make logical sense to me. Like, why not just have the 2 spaces and then the ramp to the driveway to the garage? And that would also give better accessibility for Accessoride to pull in and pull out if they would have a longer run with no parked cars. If we just granted them 2 spaces directly in front of the building, the one directly in front and the one directly west of that, which would be the space directly adjacent to the ramp to the garage.
That area of the building is where they put the garbage.
I understand you've said that, and that's after 4 p.m. twice a week.
Right.
Great. You're correct. The other main issues, I just assumed Accessoride was similar to the MTA buses, where they're actually quite easily accessible from the curb height. I'm sorry if I haven't done that research, but I assume they were better to have access from the curb.
I don't think he's saying that they would stop in the driveway. They would still stop at the curb. They would just stop in a stall in front of the driveway, one of the 2 stalls in front of the driveway.
Great. That is the main importance. Sorry, when we talk to you guys, go ahead. You talk, please.
One of the 2 stalls upstream of the driveway entrance.
Dale, you have to monitor who is talking because we can't have everybody talking at the same time.
That's fine. David's talking.
Right.
Okay. Do we have any more comments from committee members or questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, Christine.
I think, I don't know, I don't care personally whether it's in front of the parking or not. And if there is a place for garbage, which is not on the sidewalk, I think it's really great. And so I wouldn't want to mess that up because otherwise, if you change that, then the garbage is going to go to some place which is closer to the front entrance of the pedestrians. So I'd rather have the cars, but if they have the agreement with their superintendent that it's the right setup, I think that's fine, that works.
Thank you, Christine. I know we discussed this with you a little bit last month, so we're welcome to work with you guys as to your suggestion and the pictures that we have in the PDF.
Let's focus on a vote here. We are
okay. Thank you. I'm going to keep quiet then.
Close the public or not?
Are there any comments or questions from the public before we bring this to a vote? Hands up or just chime in and I'll identify you, recognize you one at a time. No? Okay. So it seems like we've addressed this issue before. It seems like as to whether the parking spaces are where the exact disposition of the no parking areas is. Do we have a resolution that would address that specifically, or do you want, or does somebody want to make a resolution that supports the residents of the building in their pursuit of a loading zone?
This is Rob Walker. I'd like to make a motion to change the current zoning to accommodate for 3 no parking with access to loading and unloading for passengers.
So Rob, your motion is to request the equivalent of 3 spaces?
That is correct. Change the current zoning to the new no parking for 3 spaces right in front of the building.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'm a second. I don't know whether I'm supposed to second or not.
Martin just seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Martin is here also. We have another committee member we didn't identify earlier. Martin Treat is here.
Point of information. You requested 3 parking spots for that. Is that including possibly putting, instead of car storage there, maybe to put the trash in one of those street spots? I'm a little confused to what we're.
You want the applicant to respond to that?
If I could just jump in for a minute, since it's 1 minute before 7, I think it's appropriate if we're going to, if I may, each night we've been on our roof giving shouts, and I have a giant speaker that I make lots of noise with, and so I'd like to request that the meeting be paused for a moment. It's 7 o'clock to make some noise for our healthcare workers and for our frontline workers. Let's hear it, New York City, make some noise for our frontline workers, our healthcare workers, our sanitation workers, our police officers, the United States Navy, our grocery store workers. Let's hear it, New York City. Make some noise. Stay smart. Stay 6 feet apart. Let's hear it, everybody. Let's thank our frontline workers.
Okay, kids, back.
This goes on for 2 minutes every night in Hell's Kitchen. I thank the committee for indulging us on this. I'll put myself back on mute while the roof finishes up.
It goes on at least to 7:02.
That's less expensive than a psychiatric.
Jeffrey, you did a fantastic job making noise. That was excellent. Okay.
I stand up here with my speaker and yell at people if they're not properly social distancing also. So it's part of what I do as a community board member now.
It's called working from home.
So where were we at? We had a vote and we had a second.
We had a question whether the 3 spots we are going to include one where the trash would go, or whether the 3 spots were in addition to the trash spot.
I mean, I think the answer seems to be from the applicants. Effectively, they would be using part of the space for collection periods. Yes, Paul.
Yeah, so the trash is not in the street space; it's on the curb line. That's closest to the entrance to the parking garage.
Okay. So
Yes, and Luke added a photo in the chat part of the conversation.
So maybe as part of that process, you could move the garbage to the parking spot.
Into the street, Christian. That's another agenda.
2 birds, 1 stone.
But if they're asking for that, I mean, Colleen said that it's highly irregular to have 3 spots. 2 is, pretty maximum. So the way they would get 3 spots is instead of taking up walk space, they would put the trash in the street space, and possibly then we could go with the 3 spots. Otherwise, we just have the 2 spots.
That would be a good solution.
I suspect Rob is upping the ask just to make sure they get 2 spots.
Again, it's unlikely
Could I ask a question? What is the frontage? How wide is the building?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the frontage of the building is.
Oh, no, I see.
But is it more than 60 feet of parking spaces?
Do we have the picture?
It looks like it's about 70 spots.
Yeah.
How many?
It looks like it's about 7 or 8 spots.
Okay.
1, 2, 3,
Oh, well, that's so
4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 spots, including including a fire hydrant on the back end.
Okay. Can I just remind those who are not actively speaking to go on mute again? We're just getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if the frontage of the building itself is the bench line for this. I mean, I think it's more about the entrance conditions than the entire frontage of the building.
So can we?
I wasn't suggesting that the whole frontage should be used. I was just asking. I was just checking the proportion between the spaces they're asking for and the.
Okay, Paul, did you have a comment?
Well, I wanted to hear back from Colleen on what's standard, how many spaces are granted for this kind of thing, which is, I heard her say there were 2, which is why I proposed having the 2 most adjacent to the entry to the driveway, because then it creates actually more space for the cars to load and unload there and pull in and out more easily, which is why I recommended it be 2 spaces. I was thinking 2 spaces next to the entrance to the garage. So if Colleen could clarify, that'd be helpful.
So normally in circumstances like this, when residential buildings are coming to request curbside access, we grant, it's usually 1 space, which is 1 car length. But given the circumstances, again, that accessoride comes to this building, we would look at the possibility of granting the 2 spaces. But again, 3 is unheard of. We would not do that. We would not do that, because the more space you give, the likelihood that some other entity would probably occupy that space or park in that space for a long period of time.
Dale?
Yeah. Also, I mean, to be fair about it, your building has 137 units, and there are buildings that are a lot larger in the district that make do with 2, an area equal to 2 parking spaces.
Okay.
With
Hey,
that
Dale,
said,
this is Rob. I'd like to amend my previous.
You want to make it 2?
Control. We need to control who is raising their hands. We need to control who is raising their hands. I've been raising my hand for a little while here.
I'm sorry, Christine. I apologize. I have not. I'm sorry. You go ahead, Christine. Just if I don't see you, just because I can't see everybody at once. Just hit me up in the chat if I'm missing you.
I don't have the chat there, but that's okay. I think the 2 space is good, and it's what we should ask. I am personally opposed to put them along the parking space, because therefore the garbage is going to go closer to the entrance of the building if they do that. So what we want to do is keep the garbage as far away from the pedestrian entrance of the building, and then have the access for the loading and unloading as close as possible to the entrance of the building. So it seems to me that if this is their traditional place to put their garbage, then they can have the 2 other places which are in front of the building, which is what they want, really.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it would be more practical to do it this way. So I would do a motion on that 2 space and in front of the building.
I second. I second her motion.
Well, we have Rob's motion already.
Okay, well, put it to vote then.
Is Rob, does your motion specify the precise location of the spaces? Rob?
This is not easy.
Rob? I think we might have lost.
No, it doesn't. But I would like to amend it. What Christina just said.
Okay, so it seems like the two motions are at this point the same.
They are.
Okay.
So we can vote. So we can have a vote on that one.
Yes.
Motion. 2 spaces in front of the building, with the acknowledgement that it is a residential building with residents with needs, needs that we've seen before, and also the accessoride, the tenant who uses accessorize on a regular basis. Janine, how are we doing this? Are we just doing it by a show of hands, or are we doing a roll call kind of vote?
We could do a roll call vote.
Okay, I'm going to ask all the committee members to vote on this, starting with the first person I see is Paul.
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Colin. David Warren.
Yes.
David, yes. David?
Yeah. Yes.
I got you, David. The other David. It was last name on David.
Olnick.
Yes.
Last name on
Yes.
Olnick. Olnick is a yes. Who else is on the committee? Martin?
Yeah.
Pete? Pete? Pete Diaz?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
I vote yes.
Your end?
Vikram.
Yes.
Is there another committee member I missed?
Yeah, Vikram.
I just called for Viren's vote.
That's
Oh, okay.
Viren.
I'm missing Colin and Rob, and you and Christine.
Oh, Rob, your vote on your.
Yep.
And Christine, I vote yes as well.
Yes.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote to support the designation of a no parking zone in front of the building. Thank you for your presentation.
May I have a question?
Yes.
What's the process now?
So we will bring the letter, which will outline the terms as described, to the full board meeting in May, and we will say that the committee voted unanimously to support this, and we will ask the full committee for their support.
Okay, all right. And you'll give us a copy of the letter, or is that something that?
Well, it'll be made publicly available, but yes,
Oh, okay.
you'll have a chance to see the letter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
We're going to move on to the second item on the agenda. And I think, did I miss? Let me just try to hit the representatives of our elected officials one more time. Matt did say hello. Matt is from Dick Gottfried's office. Maya, are you
Hi.
Hi,
Sorry
Maya.
about
Maya's
that
from
from
Senator
before.
Hoylman's office. And we also have Emily from Assemblywoman Rosenthal's office. Emily, are you available to say hello?
Hello, I am. Sorry, I was having some connectivity issues when I first got on the call, but I think it's
Okay,
all set
great.
now, so I'm here.
And I think one more rep showed up. Carl, right? Are you here, Carl?
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Carl Wilson is from
Carl has a mustache.
and Carl is rocking his quarantine mustache.
It's a great time to try out a look. I recommend it to everybody.
Okay, so going to the second item on the agenda, it is, sorry, let me just pull back, I have to switch back. This is a discussion of temporary opening of streets for pedestrians in our district. And the concept is that they would be opened along the shared street model. In other words, streets would be closed to through traffic. They would be open to local traffic, deliveries, and residents, and they would be available for pedestrians to walk on, so that the pedestrians can maintain the recommended social distance during this time. As it stands now, many cross streets in the district, if you're trying to walk along sidewalks, you have to deal with construction scaffolding, tree pits, other obstructions, which create bottlenecks where it's very hard for two pedestrians crossing one another, for instance, to maintain the 6 feet suggested for social distance. We have a number of letters of support from elected officials, including I believe all of the elected officials whose representatives are here. And yeah, what else do we have in the box that's that addresses this topic? We have, I think we're going to have a discussion among the committee members to think about how we might weigh in on this, and possibly even identify some cross streets for this treatment. I see you, David. And Christine, do you want to weigh in on this before I go to the rest of the committee?
Just a little bit. This is interesting. So this afternoon, I was, this has been in the press a lot, and this afternoon, I was on a broadcast by NACTO, the National Organization of Cities, for Transportation for Cities, and Janet Sadikan was on there with a doctor from Johns Hopkins Hospital, and there was a whole conversation there about what do we do about the streets. And you know, a lot of the really essential workers, mostly nurses, etc., and are need to go in the streets, and they are not using cars, they are just walking or using public transportation, and they are in they don't have a lot of sidewalk. And so the whole discussion was what other cities are doing, and what are the right ways to go. And it mentioned that, you know, figuring how to keep the distancing is very important, but certainly opening street is a very important part of that solution. And so that has now taken a national discussion where Oakland is opening 70 miles of streets, and a lot of other cities are opening streets so that people can have more space to go, you know, from and to their occupation without being exposed to, you know, 3 feet essentially on our sidewalk. If you cross people, you have less than 3 feet to do that. And so that was the conversation. I just wanted to report that I listened to that this afternoon, and it was very interesting. And this doctor from Johns Hopkins was saying, yes, that's a good idea. It has to be done carefully, but it is a good idea.
Okay, so I'm going to recognize 2 committee members who have raised their hands for this discussion. David and then Jeffrey.
I agree with everything that Christine said. Thank you so much. And also, as a side note, even though it's a fellow community board, 5 voted on open streets yesterday, so I'm very appreciative of that. But I apologize in advance for not sending further earlier notice, but I would like to see 59th Street and 58th Street as part of the open streets because of the medical staff and that work at St. Luke's Roosevelt. So that would give access. Obviously, we'd have to make do for the ambulance and emergency vehicles, but an open space there would make a lot of sense through 58th and 59th through the water for several reasons. This way they could not only walk, but they can also, if they have to, slowly ride their bikes to and from work, wherever they are, for whatever part of town, the medical support staff. So I'd like to add those 2 blocks. And once again, obviously, I support the proposal. And thank you, Christine, for your work. And Jeffrey also did a lot of work on this. Thank you.
Maybe we can separate the discussion into the concept and how it works, and then the streets, and have the street as a separate focus.
Sure.
Right. Maybe
so
that makes.
We'll raise the specific cross streets, and I'm glad you raised, David. I'm glad you raised the issue of coordinating with other CBs as far as our ask. I'm going to go to Jeffrey now.
Thank you. To keep it on separating the process, and Madam Co-Chair, Oakland is doing 74 miles. Just to clarify, 70 is less. We always want to talk about what's more. And then the impetus is that this would be expanding a program the city already uses, a la their shared streets model. I think what I've found a lot of the resistance to be is the idea that it becomes a barricaded, impenetrable, block party. We are not looking to create block parties. We are looking to create more space for people to go to the grocery store, for people to go to work, for people to stretch their legs, frankly. And if you look at the shared streets models across the city, there is safe mingling of cars with pedestrians because of signage, of certain, more permanent infrastructure, but in this case, we'd be talking about temporary infrastructure that could make this very possible rather quickly. Just wanted to add that it's a part of a program the city already has, I think is a critical component when we consider this.
Yeah, the model we're working on is the safe streets, the shared streets model, which is already in existence. Any other committee members have comments as to the model? Yes, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I support the concept generally. I think that since the mayor has already come out a couple of times saying that he's not going to support this, I'd kind of like to think of different ways that we can get to yes. And so instead of saying all of these streets are open with no cars, I might make a suggestion that we talk about eliminating the parking lanes and then allow for cars to travel through the middle of the streets. Because I know on my block, which is one of the streets that's being considered, there is no parking during the daytime, and people walk on the street because our sidewalks are too narrow all the time. And people, because there's so much significantly less traffic these days, people feel safe walking on the street. I also find that when I come down 9th Avenue in the evenings, a lot of people walk in the bus lane because so people are using the streets now. But if we could keep the traffic running through the streets, but barricade off and create pedestrian zones, essentially expanding the sidewalks into the parking lanes and leaving a through lane that we could reduce speed limits, we can do things like that. I think that's by the way, another side note, I think it's a perfect time to ask DOT to institute 25-mile-per-hour traffic signal timing throughout Manhattan. I mean, this is the time that we can really do that, but that's another topic. But I think that if we can think of ways that we can get to a yes, to create a solution for the pedestrian, a solution for social distancing, and get us to get a step forward in making this happen, I think that's worth considering.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other comments from?
Yeah, I have a follow-up.
David?
I mean, I as we were discussing this, I had the same thought that this as conceived is just it's gonna come and go. Whereas if we can have a system that widens the sidewalks, I think there's a greater chance of it being retained because it's not as dramatic a change to the block. So, we may in some ways, by asking for more temporarily, we may end up with less in the long run. More meaning, the whole street. We may end up, and particularly given that the mayor is not on board with it, we may end up with less in the long run.
Sorry, thank you, David. I'm gonna recognize our chair, Lowell, who wants to weigh in on this issue. Lowell.
Well, first of all, the mayor is just
wrong, completely wrong on this. He gave a half-assed try, and I think that the pressure should be put on the mayor. The speaker has come out publicly in favor of this, but I don't know that it's actually done anything to push the mayor. And I think we need to lean on Corey to lean on the mayor. I like the idea of trying to make this permanent, but anywhere there is a bike lane, you've got the bike lane between the sidewalk and the parking lane. So that's not going to work. And, you know, I know this committee has pushed for more bike lanes. So if you're putting in the bike lane, this isn't going to stay permanent anyhow. We are in, you know, desperate times now, and desperate times need, etc. So I really love to see this committee and the full board push the mayor and the speaker to get this done.
Thanks, Lowell.
I'm not sure why the
I'm
bike
sorry.
lane. Oh.
Just 1 second, please. Can I ask those of you who are not speaking to please go on mute? We're getting a little static. And David, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, just, you know, I don't think the bike lanes are a problem. If you're removing one parking, all streets with bike lanes generally have parking on both sides. So you could remove the parking lane on the side that does not have the bike lane. So I think they're really independent of each other.
Okay. Thanks, David. I'm gonna just call the other committee members who have asked to speak in the order. So I'll recognize you one at a time. So Viren, Colin, and then David again. David Warren again. Viren.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to agree with. Sorry, I'm having an echo here. I agree with all the comments that I've heard so far. Streets in Chelsea are much more difficult, mainly because you have one-way traffic and most of the cars are in place. And a lot of people in Chelsea live here, especially with sort of COVID-19 condition. Chelsea hasn't emptied out yet, except for the west side. So avenues are easier in terms of expanding the sidewalks or reducing the number of lanes. So shared street might be a little harder to achieve along the streets, but easier to achieve along the avenue. And some of the sidewalks in Chelsea are so tight, 3 foot, 4 foot. That's going to be very hard to expand unless you take away an entire parking lane.
Thanks, Viren. Okay, now we're on to Colin.
Yeah, I just want to echo everything that's been said. I'm right there with Lowell. I think that the mayor needs to be on board with this, and I think he's, it's, our job to create the type of pressure that will help push him. And I think also, like, I love the notion of choosing, designs that will help us make this more permanent. I think that's a great instinct. But I also think that at the end of the day, we are like in the middle of a pandemic. And I think that we need to we're in an emergency situation right now. And I don't think, based on the experience of other cities, the experience that Christine was mentioning before, how Oakland and Boston and Chicago and all of these cities are really just lapping us in terms of this policy change. I think, I don't think it's too much to ask, especially to close streets around places like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's line goes around the block now, and it's pretty much impossible to socially distance on, 21st Street between 6th and 7th now, because there's an entire line of shoppers. I think that would be a great place to close the street. So I think perhaps there are parts of CB4 that are where, it might make sense to widen the sidewalks. I'm always in favor of widening the sidewalks. I would have given the guy the whole loading zone, the previous guy, all 7 spots if he wanted them. But I do think that it makes sense, probably. I think that there are streets right now, right here in CB4, that are crying out. I think it's very easy. We could just close them down.
Thanks, Con. I'm gonna go. I already mentioned David Warren, but after that, I'm gonna go to Pete. Did you have your hand up? Pete? No. I'm going to go to, Brian Weber, who is a public member after David. And then I saw, Paul, you put your hand up again, right? Okay. David, Warren.
Yes, hi. First of all, I'd like to do a hybrid of what Lowell said and what Paul Devlin said. We should increase the size of the walkways on the opposite side of the street of where the bike lane is. And since this is an emergency, we should do this. I just saw on Twitter, as a matter of fact, about 20 cities internationally and nationally have just did open streets due to COVID in the last 48 hours, from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Des Moines, Iowa, to France, places in France and England. So I definitely think we should definitely go with this idea, full force for the present emergency, and also for and create permanent structure for the future. Thank you.
Thanks, David. All right, I lost track of who I identified next. Was that, Brian Weber, and then Paul.
Hi, thank you, Dale. I just wanted to mention I'm on West 36 between 8th and 9th, and I love the idea of expanding the sidewalks. We really need the street. This zone in the 30s is a mixed-use zone with a lot of commercial entities. On my block, there's a police station, and there are 2 hotels. Those 2 hotels are currently housing military and healthcare workers who are traversing the block daily to go to the Javits Center. They go directly from here to the Javits, and there's a lot of them, and they're using the street daily. And I think that if there's anything we can do to help with social distancing, we should focus on the immediate crisis and not be so concerned with making this a permanent motion. You know, I think to the earlier point of the shared street idea, allowing accessibility to commercial traffic that needs to access the block throughout the day, but limiting street traffic is really imperative, and it would be very helpful here. So that's all I wanted to add in.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, now Paul, right?
Yeah, thanks. I just want to clarify. I think my suggestion of expanding the sidewalks and allowing cars through doesn't acknowledge that the mayor is correct. I think the mayor is incorrect on his position on this. And I think the speaker does need to be pressured to take better action and create shared streets. So I support that concept. But the issue I'm trying to address is, and I'm not looking forward to a permanent solution. I'm looking for a solution for today and tomorrow, because we need to address this quickly. And I'd rather see us find a way to get the mayor to agree to something rather than getting into expending political capital and pushing them. Let's try to find something that would work, that would create expanded sidewalks, that would create connectivity between the neighborhoods, that would create connectivity between the parks. Maybe some of the streets, like the Trader Joe's streets or Whole Foods streets, maybe we do block them off entirely. But I think that we should take a position that is a way that we can get something done more quickly, because it's needed today. And to say block off the list of streets that we've listed in that memo is too extensive, and we're going to just get pushed back. So instead, my suggestion is to think about how do we get it done more quickly. So I just wanted to clarify why I raised this as an issue. I don't disagree with the concept of a shared streets system. I don't disagree with closing them off to traffic, but I want to find a way to get it done more quickly.
Okay, great. Thanks, Paul.
So can I add something? I don't.
Two things.
Speaking?
Christine first.
No, who was the other person, Christine?
That was Miriam Fisher.
Miriam, you're going to have to wait until
I don't know how to wave. I'm between an iPad and my cell, and I don't want to
Okay,
lose
we will
you.
identify you during the public session. If you could go back on
Okay,
mute.
it wasn't clear. I thought it was already. Okay.
Thank you. Okay,
So
Christine.
before we go to the public, I wanted to provide some clarifications. So first of all, we don't want to close any streets, which the idea was it's very important. That's the best way to get it to a yes, right? You don't want to close a street. The street is open. It's not open to through traffic. It's open to all the necessary traffic on that street. But and if the through traffic wants to go through it at 5 miles per hour, that's their call. You know, they can do it. There is no way to enforce that. But as long as they are at 5 miles per hour, it's fine, right? So that's the idea on that is important, because it's a way for addressing what Paul and others have said, which is we want to get to a yes as soon as possible. I think the moving of the parking would be a way to not get to a yes, because all the people which have their cars parked there, if you tell them you have to move them or you remove them, that's on every block, people are going to be really upset. So my view of, I agree, I'd love to be able to say, look, you draw a lane and you move the parking or you remove the parking. I think that would be, my opinion is that it would be much bigger obstacle than anything else at this point. There was a comment about the avenues. The reason we didn't touch the avenues is that we are also going after a model which is not described here, which was the superblock in Barcelona. The superblock says you send the traffic, the through traffic on the big streets, you know, the avenues and the two-way street. And you take the residential block in between and you make them slower so people can go out and walk around, etc. So, you know, the avenues, people are going to say, how do I get my deliveries? How do I get the emergency services? How do I get all those things? And that doesn't get us to a yes quickly, right? So these are the points I heard that I think where what is being proposed here is something that is proven, that works, has already been tested by the, you know, the DOT, and they don't have to go and make a big study to do it. They know how to do it, and now so that's one thing. And then as far as the streets that were selected, the idea behind that, the filter behind that was not on street where you have a police precinct, not on street where we have a hospital, because people are going to say, well, the emergency vehicles have to go through that. Not on those streets where you can expect that there will be a lot of pushback. So the list of streets was again selected so that there would be no pushback. And all those pieces, not to say this is the perfect list of streets, right? But this, I just want to share with you the format of the thinking and the filtering and how we have done the filtering, and very much to what Paul is saying is all in the spirit of saying, let's get to a yes. You know, there is no reason why they should say no. That's it.
That's great,
Dale,
Christine.
I have a question about that.
I'm sorry, is that David Skolnick?
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, maybe you could describe exactly how the shared street works. So if I'm understanding it correctly, maybe the opening on each end is narrowed in some way, and then there's a 5 mile an hour speed limit.
Yes.
And so,
yes,
is that correct? And then how is the 5 mile an hour speed limit enforced?
Well, just like anything else.
It's not.
Turn off. Can you just turn off your thing, because I do. David, can you mute for 1 second? Yes, thank you. So the 5 miles per hour is you know, probably enforced with cops, or the fact that there are people in the streets, you know. So that's, and then the entrance is much smaller. And then it also says there will be a little sign saying no through traffic. If you go to Union Square, on the left side of Union Square, there is a street on the west side of Union Square. There is a shared street, and then so that's that. And as far as an emergency model, I think that's enough, because everybody would talk about it for a long. If it was going to stay for a longer term, you would have to redo the surface so it's different, etc. But right now, the idea is to slow down the cars and let pedestrian be in the middle of the street. That's it.
Are there any other questions from committee members or comments? No? Am I missing anybody? And just to say again that we do have letters of support from
Hey, Bill,
all.
this is Rob. Could I make a comment?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Rob.
With the weather getting nicer, people are going to be drawn towards the parks, towards the playground. And I foresee our local government shutting this down to a point. By giving us access to these streets, we have more of an ability to stretch our legs without having to worry about social distancing. I think this is a good thing. To echo what others have been saying, I completely agree, and I really do believe, Corey's got to get the mayor on board with this. This is a good thing for New Yorkers.
Thanks, Rob. Any other comments from committee members? I think we have some consensus on the notion that we want to propose a solution that is expedient, that addresses the immediate issues. And as far as the selection process, Christina's outlined a kind of logic to which side streets, which cross streets are possible candidates and which are obviated by certain things. Also, committee members have raised specific circumstances around the quarantine, such as long lines at large retail operations, and also the presence of the National Guard in the mid-30s, for example, as items, as factors to consider in locating precisely which cross streets that we're looking at closing. Before I'm going to just because of the technology limitation, I'm going to ask one more time if there's any other committee member who wants to weigh in before I open it up to the public for comments and questions. Going once, going twice. Okay, so I'm going to identify, so far I have 2 members of the public who have hands up. I have Robert and I have Miriam. Robert, go ahead.
And Alan, Oscar.
And after Robert and after Miriam, I'll recognize Alan. I'm sorry, Alan. I see you now. Okay.
Hey, all. Robert Green, 500 West 30th. I know Christine and I have actually talked about West 30th Street at some length in the past. I want to speak in 2 ways. One, in support of all of this. I want to speak in support of it in a way that would have tactical urbanism be a way to make it happen quickly, because as other people have pointed out, the weather's getting nicer, people are getting antsy, and we have to do something with expeditiously. So one of the members asked about the 5 miles per hour. And as I'm actually right now on University for my quarantine, I can tell you that between 13th and 14th Street, essentially just using planters and sort of little plastic bollards, creating a chicane, it is a 5 mile per hour street. And you do see people walking on it, driving on it, riding their bikes on it. You see the delivery bikes. It's working incredibly well. Even the light that takes you onto 14th Street is actually working really well. It was a very simple fix. It took a day for it to happen. And I think it's a great model. And creating these sort of things like a chicane, which forces drivers to just slow down. They don't really have a choice. That's one half of it. But the other half is making sure that people use these who are themselves walkers, right? You want the pedestrians to actually go into the street. Right now, where I am on 9th Street, you see people hesitantly taking their dogs into what is a sometimes parking lane, taking what's a very narrow sidewalk and expanding it naturally. And we can do things that make that sort of movement that people are making already and just make that feel a little bit more safe and structured by things like cones, barricades, very simple signage that people could be printing on their printers at home. Things that can be done incredibly quickly, and I don't know as well as you guys do how much that satisfies the mayor's, yes, NYPD sawhorses, thank you, absolutely, those are great. I don't know how much that satisfies the mayor's complaints, and I don't understand the mayor's complaints anyway, they seem completely insane to me. But those things are things that we can do quickly, and those are things that we can do in a lot of different places, and that can actually make it possible for people to walk their dogs, go outside. People like my parents who are in their 80s, who are in the West Village on incredibly narrow streets, can feel more comfortable walking in what we call the street, but it's really just an extension of the sidewalk. So that to me is the most important thing, and the quickest thing that we can do is just make those sidewalks broader, basically. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Robert. Miriam, before I go to you, Carl Wilson from Speaker Johnson's office is on. I'm gonna go to him, and then I'll go to you, Miriam. Go ahead, Carl. Unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, what happened? You went back on mute.
One second, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, here he is.
Good. He's good.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So I was trying to say thank you, Dale, and thanks to the committee. It's really great to see everybody, being creative to deal with our current circumstances. So it's happy to join the conversation. I just want to say that I think the committee is, it's really great to hear the committee is so, I think, on board with this idea. I know for our perspective, from Corey's perspective, having the streets open to pedestrian traffic is a no-brainer here, that we have a real opportunity to do something that would, I think be good for the health and safety of the greater community, and also help us maintain our distance, especially now that we don't have as much park space open. So rest assured, we are applying maximum pressure to the mayor on this. We definitely think that this is the right thing to do, and I'm happy to hear what I think is a lot of support on this board from that. So please know it's something we're trying very, very hard to make happen.
Great. Thank you, Carl. I think you do hear solid support and consensus, just, maybe some back and forth on how to get there, but we all agree that this is the way. All right, I'm going to recognize Miriam next. Miriam, can you go off mute and weigh in? Miriam?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I am in 1,000% support. This is my dream of paradise, car-free streets. I'm a member of Auto Free. Ever since actually I was hit by a taxi and I had a very severe injury, and this has been what I've been campaigning for most of my adult life. My concern, and I think we should ask for everything forever, because they'll cut us down, and the less you ask for, the less you'll get. And I think we should go whole hog for permanent, and to include as many streets as we can. The whole city, auto-free New York. My concern is the biking. I have become increasingly afraid to go in the streets as they've opened up. There are more bikes on the sidewalk. I live in Chelsea on 23rd. A biker was behind me, and I have balance problems from the accident. I almost fell. I'm afraid of falling. He said, well, I saw you. I said, you shouldn't be on the street. You were behind me. I didn't know you were there till you were about 3 feet from me. There was another biker on 6th Avenue on the street. I said, sidewalks are for people, get on your bike path. It was right there. He asked me if I was the police. I said, no, I'm just protecting my safety. The bikes are going through the lights, the red lights. I stood on 8th Avenue with some policemen in front of the supermarket, and we saw one after the other. I said, what can we do about that? They're frightening me. There's endangering seniors, disabled. I hear this all the time. I go to Hudson Guild, the senior centers. I'm a member of several disability organizations. I was at the Transportation Alternatives meeting this morning. I'm a member. I reached out to the group and to Danny Harris, the director. What can we do now that we're opening the streets and people are using it? Everyone, pedestrians, bikers, but the bikers are in larger numbers, which I applaud and celebrate. but going through lights and now riding on the sidewalks. I think I brought this up at the end of the last meeting, and I gave everybody who was still there some literature. This is a different world and a different situation. I want the open streets. I want the bikers. I want more protected bike lanes, but the bikers are going through more lights. They're more out there, and they're going on the sidewalk, and that's dangerous. It's also illegal.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Miriam. Christine, are you weighing in?
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in on that. I mean, in fact, I think opening the street to pedestrian and asking less cars on the street is going to help, because then the bicyclists are going to be in the street as well, and they will have a lot more streets to go into and be more spread. But I wish sometimes they would behave a little more with civil approach. But I don't think that's the major problem right now. We need to really focus on the cars and make sure that the pedestrian and the bike can get out.
But we don't want to flood the street, the ERs and the hospitals with people being hit and injured.
Yeah, that's why we
want the streets have much less traffic right now, and the bicyclists are still going through the lights. Chelsea is almost barren. It's a pleasure. I see very few cars. They're all like 14th Street, but the bikes are there and going through the lights more than ever.
Okay, thank you, Miriam. I'm going to recognize Alan, and then after that, I have a couple more hands up from the public. Give me one moment, because hold on a second, because many things are happening at the same time on my screen. So Luke has his hand up, and who else has?
Melody.
Yeah. Melody has her hand up. All right, so I'm going to recognize Alan, and then Luke, and then Melody.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, everybody. Member of Community Board 4, but I'm speaking today as a resident of the 400 block of West 22nd Street. And I certainly agree with everything that's been said. I do have some comments. We all want some more space, which is important. I will mimic what Miriam had to say about the bikers on the streets. I think it's gotten worse as less cars are on the streets. There seems to be more bikes on the sidewalks. I don't know why, but that's been an ongoing issue. You see bikers not using the bike lanes, but again, that's a big problem, and I think it gives the bikers who do obey the laws a bad rap. As far as removing bike parking lanes, that's going to be a problem down here in Chelsea. You've got the streets that you've indicated that surround the NYCHA houses. A lot of those folks use their cars, not as much now, but a lot of them still go to work, and a lot of them work in the outer boroughs. And because of the transportation system that doesn't allow them to get to where they want to go in an expeditious manner, they do find it easier to use their cars. A lot of these folks need to use their cars. And I think just asking people to move their cars somewhere because you want to extend the sidewalk is going to get a lot of pushback. So I don't know if that's a good way to go. I think what Christine is suggesting to start off with would be more advisable. And I don't recall the gentleman who was speaking about university, about putting things in the street, perhaps temporary speed bumps to keep the speed limits down. So those are my comments. Thank you very much. Good work. Thank you all. Stay healthy and well.
Thanks, Alan. And now I'm going on to, I think I said Luke next, right? Luke and then Melody.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to point out that New York City has seen a 57% increase in camera-issued speeding tickets. That is something significant because when cars are going faster, it can injure people. So I also wanted to mention that the NYPD isn't necessary to have such a strong enforcement of the shared streets. Oakland has done it very simply with just a couple cones, and people pretty much respect that. So if it's an issue with taking our NYPD out of where they're most needed, I think people will be polite and respectful with very simple mechanisms to be able to enforce this. So just wanted to put that point out there, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Luke. Melody, you just need to go off mute. You might find it, there's, if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's like a series of circles that are prompts you can turn on and off. Do you see it there?
You have to put your pointers down there, your mouse down there.
Also, if you're in gallery view, yeah, you found it?
I got it, yeah.
All right, great. Hi, Melody.
So, hi, I can't see you from here, but I hear you from here. I'm sorry to hear that bikes are not behaving themselves. That's not a good thing, but cars are definitely not behaving themselves. And one of the reasons I am more interested in the shared streets concept is that the last I read, speeding was up with cars by 288%, and cyclist injuries were up by, I can't remember if it was 37 or 43%. So it's cars that really worry me. Cars are, they need to be controlled anyway, but especially now with so little traffic, they're going really, really fast because they can. I don't mean cars, I mean drivers. So I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. Like, everybody has to obey the law, especially drivers.
Great, thank you, Melody. Do we have any other comments from the public? If you can't, if you're not in the chat window, or if I can't see you, because I can't see everybody at once. Oh, I see a hand up. Yes,
Matt.
I just wanted to say to everyone that if anyone hasn't seen the letter that was sent by Member Gottfried, it was signed by Senator Hoylman, Speaker Johnson, and Gail Brewer, and Assembly Member Rosenthal. I did post the link in the chat if anyone wants to read that, and it's also up on our Twitter.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any other? Yes, we appreciate the support.
Can you hear me?
I hear somebody who's up. Yeah.
This is Pamela Wolf. I came in.
Pamela.
Hi. I hope it's okay for me to speak. I don't have any.
Please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I'm just wanted to chime in on behalf of the Council of Chelsea Block Associations to say that the council is heartily in favor of this concept. Okay, that's this is the last minute word coming in, and sorry, I'm crashing the meeting.
Not at all.
We like this kind of crashing, Pamela. We like this.
We can take that.
Okay, thank you, Christine. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Even if you didn't have that view, you're not crashing the meeting. This is your meeting.
Well, I'm speaking as a member of the community, not as a CB4 public member.
And that was my message too. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other comments from the public?
Let me just add, what can we do about this? I think, of course, the cars are more frightening and more serious. There are accidents from bikes. What can we do so that a senior doesn't break his or her hip and wind up in the hospital? We don't need preventable accidents in this time ever, but certainly in this time for people having to go to the ER or the hospitals. And I'm really sick of hearing that cars are worse. I know that better than anyone. I was hit by a car. I'm talking about what's happening now with more bicyclists going through lights on the sidewalk. What can we do? I live in Chelsea. I walk around in Chelsea.
Well, I mean, Miriam, I appreciate your advocacy on this issue, but we are here, and the topic at hand is the shared streets issue. So and you have weighed in, and we recognize your,
Okay.
thank you. So Jeffrey, do you have a motion, Jeffrey?
No, not
is there
yet.
one? I'm sorry.
We should talk about the streets. We had
Yes.
proposals for two streets.
I'm sorry, is there one other person who wants to weigh in?
I don't know if I'm.
Can
you hear me?
Can the people who are not speaking go on mute? I see some mics, green mics. Like, make yourselves on mute, please. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Kathleen Treat calling.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi. I don't know how other cities around the world deal with this, but couldn't we have something like driver's education for bicyclists? And I don't even know if cyclists need licenses in New York City. But there has to be some sort of regulation. We've all experienced near misses with cyclists, and certainly not just the delivery guys by any means. I'm talking about the guys who graduated Harvard, those guys. My thoughts. Thank you.
I think we should start the discussion about the two additional streets. You are muted, Dale. You have to turn on.
Sorry, I was trying to end that reverb that was happening when Kathleen was speaking. Okay, so yes, please, Christine, do you want to
yeah, the 58, 59 Street? I know David was the one who suggested that, and I did not put them in on purpose because I felt that with a hospital there and the need to have the fastest access to the hospital, I think we will have a lot of pushback. So that was my thinking.
And was there another street there were other streets that were mentioned that were Martin? I will see. Hi, Martin. I just want to get one thing out, and then I'll go to you, Martin. The other streets that were mentioned were for instance, like places like Trader Joe's where there are long lines, and also Brian brought up where the National Guard is very active right now.
38. Oh yeah, 21st Street is included already. So
okay.
Trader Joe is already there. What is the other one?
I think 37th would serve as a crossway from where the National Guard's folks are being housed over to the Javits Center.
37 is included also.
Yeah, Brian, 1 second. I'm going to just go to Martin and then I'll go back to Brian. Martin.
Hi.
Kathleen, turn your mic off.
Oh. Thank you.
God, how do I do that?
The narrow sidewalks extend to 48th Street. I wonder if we could add 47 and 48 in Hell Kitchen.
Well, 47 and 48, the reason they are not in is that we didn't have a lot of time to do notification. And we have heard of people of, 55, 55th Street, 48th Street, etc., that were concerned that there had been no notification and discussions. So I felt that we should rather leave them out because, generally they have very specific ideas about their streets. And since we have not had a lot of notification, I'd rather not, muddy the water and have some block association saying, I don't want it.
Yeah, Martin, it was brought to our attention that
know who has the cars. Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think Brian weighed in and said that actually I misidentified the street. He's actually asking for 36, which is where those
Yeah, which
hotels
is on
are.
the
Is that
list.
right,
Yeah,
Brian?
it's on the list.
36 is on the list. Thank you, Brian. Okay. Any more comments or
Jeffrey
discussion?
has
Do
his
we have a
hand.
motion, Jeffrey?
Dale, if I could just,
Can I have a comment on the streets before we motion?
go ahead,
I'm
Paul. I had a
sorry.
comment also. You
Who's
go, that way I
speaking?
can comment and
Paul? Yes, go
No,
ahead, Paul.
Oh, sorry, Jeffrey. Before the motion came through, that's all. The notion that the list includes 15, 16, 17, 18. 14th Street is currently closed to through traffic. So I might make a recommendation. We think about reopening 14th Street to cross-street traffic because every other street in that neighborhood, I know it's this. I'm aware of raising a controversy, but like there's no way for people down there to get across town, and I think that's going to force more violations of the shared streets if we don't give some vehicles some sort of escape hatch. And I think that 14th Street, because there's no traffic now anyways, it's not going to be heavy traffic on 14th Street. But I think we need to find a valve down there because we have 23rd Street, we have 34th Street, we have 42nd Street. The normal cross streets are open and they're remaining open under our shared street plan. But down there isn't anything open. So I want to.
My thinking on this, and Christine, let me know if you agree, is that we may put these streets on the list. It doesn't mean that we want all that we want or we will necessarily get all of them, but they're all to be considered.
Potential.
Right. Well, I think we're going to get none if we go full shared street. So that's
No, I think there are candidates. I think we are going to get a small portion of that. So maybe we'll get 15 or we'll get 18. We're not going to get all of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if all of Lower Chelsea was shared streets, I think that would be a huge shock given the environment we're in. But okay.
Delightful shock, but a shock.
Yeah, Jeffrey.
Yes. Two things. One, besides all we've talked about, I'd like to put into all of what we've discussed. I'd like to put into a motion, and I can summarize that. But I also wonder if the city would consider supporting. Sorry, Scarlett's barking in the background. Would consider supporting the Broadway closure. We have a tiny speck of Broadway technically in Columbus Circle, and I wonder if the committee would indulge CB5's letter that they sent supporting a Broadway closure plan. If this becomes divisive, I would immediately withdraw that. But I think this is worth showing there's community consideration. This isn't just a Board 4 proposal, even though we are,
Do we actually have a swath of Broadway?
No.
Consider our little circle of Columbus on the corner of Broadway.
We really don't. But we can.
We can say we support CB5.
Yeah, position. We can say we wish to coordinate and work in tandem with our adjacent CBs, CB5, and we support their efforts on Broadway, and we'll factor this into our consideration.
I think it's important to talk about.
It strengthens our hand, showing we're not alone in the ask.
Right.
I agree, but we can't claim Broadway.
Claim Broadway, just a little corner. So with that, I move to write a letter to the mayor requesting that we open a series of streets for pedestrian safety purposes so we can properly be physically distant during this time of pandemic. We'll include the list of streets that are outlined in the Dropbox right now. We'll look to make this happen expeditiously with toolkits that DOT has. And if not, we would hope that community groups can be activated to take part in making this happen. It does not have to be a strain on NYPD resources, and we should look to our cities around the world for how we can best implement this.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, to activate community groups in the implementation. It'll go to those people who are those skeptics who are saying, how is this going to be enforced?
I second Jeffrey's proposal.
Have a
We have a
second.
second. Okay. Discussion among committee members. Do we have discussion? Yes, Paul.
Just some, Jeffrey, some friendly language to add about, to address the Community Board 5, Community Board 3, the connectivity between the neighborhoods. Because people who live on one side of 8th Avenue might still want to walk to Hudson River. So that connectivity, I think, is important. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the letter should have a tone of cooperation and joint action with the other community boards. And I think, you know, Colleen, did you want to weigh in? I see you peering.
Yeah, it's me.
Just give me 1 second. I just asked Colleen if she wants to weigh in.
Yeah.
Well, we did receive the letter. Wendy Pastor from Assemblymember Godfrey's office emailed a letter to me, and I forwarded to Borough Commissioner Pinkar, and we shared it with the commissioner. You're not the only community board who is thinking along this line as well. CB7 wants to do this. I know CB5 as well want to do this, and CB7 had a discussion about it last night. To be honest with you, I really don't know what our thinking is yet on this, because we don't have any idea of, you know, when folks are going to be able to go back to work. You know, the $1 million question is, when is New York going to be reopened? When is America going to be reopened back again? When will we have normalcy? So, you know, I totally get, you know, the important issue of this is having people come out and, you know, not congregating, but at the same time having some sort of normalcy back again. But, you know, it all depends on what the mayor wants to do. And if, you know, having Corey give, you know, that nudge or that push, that will help. I think that would be a good thing. So that's my opinion on it.
Great, thanks, Colleen. Martin. You have to go off mute, Martin.
I was going to ask Colleen was here. So,
I read your minds.
Yeah, bye.
So make a roll call.
Okay, we're gonna vote on. We're gonna vote on this motion. I'm gonna call you out as I find you. Paul.
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Colin.
Yes.
Who's next? David Warren.
Yay. Yay.
David Skolnick.
Yes.
Martin.
Oh, yeah. Take over the street. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see Viren, but I know I think he's here. Viren?
Down there, you can see him.
Oh, yeah, now I see you. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to Christine last. Do I have any other committee members?
Rob is here.
Oh, Rob. Rob Warren?
Rob Walker.
Rob?
Give him a sec. It takes a long time to get off mute on the phone.
Okay.
That would be a yes.
Thanks,
Did
Rob.
PTS vote? Did
Yeah.
you see Pete? You saw
And yes, where's Pete?
Oh, Pete Diaz.
Where is he? I don't see him.
Pete Diaz, are you here? Let me just go to participants.
I don't see Pete there.
He checked in earlier. Maybe he got disconnected.
Okay. Christine, your vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. That means it's unanimous based on those of us who voted. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
No, you need to do, oh, okay. You are going to do the four corners.
Oh, yeah, I'm not shutting down because we're also going to ask for new business. All right. So, Christine, do you want to do the update on that issue?
Okay.
We had a meeting with
yes,
our consultants.
Right.
We would like to update the committee on their work.
Right. So I think 2 or 3 months ago, we had, as you know, the community board has received additional funds, one-time funds that they could use every year. And these funds have been used for different very valuable projects. Last year, it was done for a conservation, what is it called? Conservation project. And we got this year a certain amount of money to do a study of whether we could put neck down at 4 intersections. And we signed a contract with Sam Schwartz, and they came back earlier this week, and we had a conference call today to discuss their finding. So the 4 intersection, the 4 corners are the west side of 45th Street, the west side of 43rd Street, the west side and 9th Avenue, I'm sorry.
All of these are on 9th Avenue.
All of these are on 9, west side of 26th Street and the west side of 17th Street. We had selected those corners because they were historically very dangerous, or somebody was killed there, or they are not next to a school, or, you know, they seem to be the best corners to try to slow down traffic. So Sam Schwartz came back. Each of those corners is feasible. So the neck down would be either on the north side or the south side, depending the corner, the different corners. So the next step is going to be that Sam Schwartz is going to have a conversation with the DOT. Colleen, you are going to receive a proposal or a design from Sam Schwartz. And they're going to discuss that with DOT. And once they have a first, you know, comments from DOT, they will come back to us. And probably next month we will take a vote on them. Hopefully we will have the comments of DOT at that time. And indeed, this is all done with paint and flexible bollards. There is nothing, you know, permanent there. This is really one of those intervention which is kind of low cost and high payback because it really slows down cars and vehicles turning there.
Can I make a comment about that?
Go ahead, David.
Oh, David, yeah.
Yeah. So is this? I mean, obviously, a neck down is part of what we talked about in the last item, which is a shared street basically has a neck down, something similar to a neck down at each end. Is there been any coordination between these two, and should there be something mentioned in this? I mean, I would think these might not be completely independent.
Well, one is on an emergency track, which is closing those streets or opening the street to pedestrian, whichever, and it would be done just with cones. So it wouldn't have any paint or neck down or anything right now. Okay.
I understand that, yeah.
The second part is more on a semi-permanent part, which is like on 37th Street, where it would be painted. And so it's really on 2 different tracks. But you're right that conceptually there are things that are additive to each other. But because of the timeline and the context, I think we want to treat them separately.
But are these streets that you mentioned also on the other list?
45th is, yeah. 26 is, 17 is, and 43rd is, yes.
Okay, so they are coordinated. It may be inadvertently, but okay.
No, it's not inadvertent. I mean, these are, you know, these are of the group which is proposed for slowing and opening. Those 4 intersections are known to be very dangerous. So they are like in a different category by themselves, but they are part of the first part. Yes.
Christine, I'm sorry. One more time, I'm just itemizing this for a chat message. Can you name the cross streets again?
Yes. 45th, 45th, West 45th Street and 9th Avenue, West 43rd and 9, West 26 9, and West 17.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got that right.
Right.
I'm putting those in the public chat as well for everyone.
Good.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the update on that. It was you know, our consultants are earning their keep, and we have that is all the items on our agenda. I think we're gonna make a call for new business. Yes, Paul.
Thanks.
I think
Hey,
if there's anybody who's not speaking who could go on mute.
Yeah, Miriam is on.
Yeah, there's a caller 11 keeps popping up as talking on the screen. So it's a phone. Sorry. In my rantings just now about the shared streets, I just remembered another point about the speed limit issue across Manhattan being 25 miles per hour and the timing of the lights not matching that. And that's something we have in the past written about, complained about, whined about. Do we want to write another letter on that at this point? And I'm just opening that up for a first question to Christine and Dale to see if it's worth.
No, I think we're set. I think we're set. All of our avenues have been fixed.
They have been? Okay, great. Perfect.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't noticed a slowing down of traffic on the avenues. It's speedways out there right now.
Well, it's because it's right now. People are
Well,
you know.
I mean, people are exploiting the quarantine is what's happening.
Exactly. No, that's why I raised it. I haven't seen its impact then. Okay, thank you though.
And if you look, I believe they're all New Jersey plates that are the speeders.
All New Jersey. It's only the New Jersey drivers.
All right. So I believe that is our meeting. Christine, do you have anything else?
No, I got a note from Kathleen Treat. I don't know whether she's still on the phone. Where here she's coming, and she has some concern about the 34A and you know, the crosstown buses and
the 34th Street crosstown bus.
Yeah, 34th Street and the 23rd Street, and the fact that a lot of people are going to the hospital, and then the hospital workers come out all at once, and they are on the bus on 23rd Street or on 34th Street, and it's really very, very crowded at those times. So I don't know, I wanted to maybe ask the elected officials to bring that up with the administration, because we have never been very successful with MTA to get anything done. So I think that's something that we can write a little note to, you know, what is it called? A technical letter, you know, not an admin letter. An admin letter. Yeah, because it seems that, and then there is an emergency issue about that, which is like there is a lot of people from the hospital leaving, and there is no public distancing whatsoever. You know,
so
everybody's in the bus.
Kathleen has you've identified specific instances where hospital shifts end and there's a large number of hospital workers and they need transit and they're taking the crosstown bus. And so, I mean, in a way, it's helpful that it's a very specific ask for
right.
the, and it's specific to this quarantine.
So I'd like to send that to the elected officials, because they have the channels for the emergency stuff, and yes, we can do that quickly.
Do any of the representative of electeds want to weigh in on this issue?
Happy to raise it with MTA. This is Maya from Senator Hoylman's office.
Okay, we'll
thank you, Maya.
Send me the details with which hospitals it is and which buses, and we'll flag.
Right. What we need is additional buses on that route at that time of the day.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Great. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So is this going to be where they're going to create a special bus for hospital workers and have them drop off? Because I think that would be a good idea. So the hospital workers, because they're emergency medical support staff, the bus would carry the workers and nobody else, and that, on specific times. And this way, less people would be infected or whatever, and it would be less crowded. So you'd be able to achieve two objectives. One is hospital workers would just be them, and you have them dropped off, and nobody else would get on. I don't know if that's what you want to do, or that's what you're asking for, or you just
asking to remove the crowding, and then they can do it whichever way they want.
Okay.
I mean, it's complicated enough. Yes, Colin.
Yeah, I'd just like to chime in. I think it's a fantastic idea, and a number of other cities have done it. I know, for example, Houston has instituted special shuttles to the Texas Medical Center, which is one of the largest in the world. And my organization, Transit Center, has done some research on this, and we found that there is some slack in other parts of the system, especially right now with bus and rail, bus ridership way down. So, we've put out there, we've spoken to the MTA about the need to rejigger some service from routes that have less ridership now to routes that serve, hospitals and senior centers and all of that, and routes that, are experiencing a lot of crowding due to frontline workers needing them. So I'm definitely in favor of this, and I can point you to any research if you want.
And
Great, thank you, Colin.
What is the status of your request? What have they said?
Some defensiveness, I would say. It was certainly the request. It wasn't particular to CB4. Actually, you might have seen in the city newsletter and some reporting lately. There's been a lot of crowding in the Bronx and in areas of town on the end terminus of subway lines, especially. And so, it was framed as a racial justice issue, and there was, to call it what it is, and there was some defensiveness there. But they have said like, oh, we put more service on the 2, for example. I know we're talking about buses, but on the 2 and 5. So there is an acknowledgement that there's a problem, but they're not, and there is some. They have taken steps. They've been able to, identify some steps that they've taken. But I think the communication aspect isn't there either, which is, usually a big problem with the MTA as well. So anyway, to answer your question, the answer is more or less we're on it. They need a nudge.
Great, thank you, Colin. So if we're going to draft an admin letter to that effect and engage with Senator Hoylman's office via Maya, we don't need a vote or anything. We're just going to do that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
Do you have anything else, Christine?
No.
Okay. I think we'll draw this meeting to a close then. Are there any other new business items from committee members?
Just that I've been eating all the Easter M&M, peanut M&Ms my mom sent me on everybody's behalf. It wasn't just for my consumption. It was for all
much
of
appreciated, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
And you made noise for all of us as well tonight. I appreciate that.
Good.
I don't accept that. I still would like to have my own M&M, so you can bring those to me.
Oh, did you want to?
Is that the crinkly bag I've been hearing all night?
I need to speak to you and Christine after the meeting, please.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. Thank you for putting up with us as we use this new technology. Thank you to our elected officials, representatives, and to the public. And Colleen, as always, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
You are staying on, right? You are staying on, Dale.
Christine and
Thank you very much, Dale and Christine.
And Jeffrey.
And Janine. Goodbye.
Bye, Melody. Bye, Kathleen.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
17. We still have 16.